Hi. So, this is my new eye-popping music video I've done for Bunchy's Big Score. It was all done in Blender, mostly using the VSE, the video sequence editor, but also with some grease pencil objects like that bone. And I actually figured out how to do all the chrome keying in the Blender VSE. Some people don't like the VSE in Blender because it's a little bit limited, but I like not having to export stuff into other programs and then re-import it, or that sort of thing. Export things and then import them into something else, or bring them back into whatever, After Effects or whatever. I, as a challenge to myself, tried to do everything in Blender this time, and I managed to do it. Yes, so the band had recorded an hour and a half of footage for a project, for a music video, I guess, and then the director kind of got burnt out on it or didn't want to do it, so they gave it to me to work on. So I went through and did a couple of tests, like this one here. Oh, this one here. This is using the compositor. And just trying to figure out a way to make their footage look compelling. Which, if you've watched some of these videos, you know that might be one of my most used words. Yeah, so I was quite happy with the idea of using insane color ramps on things initially. And I put together a kind of quick document using a program called Obsidian Vault, just to take notes and things. So I got some screenshots of residents. I also wanted to include some animated elements. I wasn't sure how much scope I'd have for that, but also as a thing to show them, I showed them the Gorillas video where they've composited some of the 2D characters into a live action scene. And yeah, that test reminded me a lot of this Residents one, so couple of Residents things. But yeah, the idea was like super saturated, and tried to make some notes of how the workflow would work for me, and how many shots, and then went through all the lyrics, kind of did a bit of a breakdown of the kind of main bits and pieces of it. And then I brought all of their footage into a timeline in Blender, the video sequencer, and went through it and kind of figured out which bits were the most kind of usable. They shot quite a lot of footage, and I managed to chop it right down. I also went through and color coded everything, so they had 4 different segments of them, or 4 different angles basically of them performing in the studio. And so I managed to sync them all up with the audio and put them in 4 different layers, so that way I could chop them up and bring them up and down in the pile. So there's like wide, this one I didn't even title, but I think that's just sort of the master shot, like the wide shot, another wide shot. And then we've got 2 different hectic zooms where the camera is moving around. The green ones were for the stuff on the green screen. And yeah, a lot of the stuff didn't get used, like all the stuff here I didn't end up using, but went through and watched it and kind of picked out all the bits that I thought were the best. This here could have been quite good actually, but yeah, I didn't have heaps of time. And yeah, a lot of the green screen stuff I actually managed to get some good use out of. It took me a while to kind of really hone in my keying ability using Blender. It's not a super popular common workflow, but it's pretty good once I got the hang of it. So maybe I'll take a look at that. So for this bit here, for example, we've got this footage here, which is this guy on the green screen. And I basically the way I did it was I copied the footage. I made a copy of that, which is down here, which is perfectly in line with it. And then the copy that I made, I called it something mask related. So this one's called Dumb Dancer Mask. Sorry to the guitarist in the band. I don't think you're dumb. I just figured no one would see this. Oh, my bad. Yeah, so I basically made it so that was perfectly aligned with this. I think it is. Oh, maybe it's slightly off. Did I just do that then? No. Oh, there must be a cut somewhere. Sorry, my bad. Whatever. I'll just realign it a little bit. It's all just part of the flavor. Yeah, and then the way that I keyed out everything that was green in the original shot was using a modifier. So if we turn this off, you'll see that's the original footage. I added a hue correct modifier and then brought the green values way, way, way down. And then so that kind of becomes this white alpha sort of thing. And then I added a mask, and then for the mask I picked this, which is perfectly aligned now. Yeah, and so this is acting as a mask on this. And for this one here, I also added a hue correct to it and ramped up the green values insanely. So if we look at this, that's what it looks like on its own. But as it acts as a mask, it keys out the green. I also put a curve modifier on it too to also ramp that up a bit. So hang on, if I just turn off these here, see, this is what it's doing. It's sucking out all the color except for the green and the black and the white, because I've turned down everything except for the green, which I've ramped up. And then the curves is kind of further ramping up the saturation so that the mask modifier has a bit more to kind of cling on to. And that was just through trial and error. So if you're trying to replicate something like this, go back, screenshot those values and tweak them as you need. But yeah, I basically went through and did that for all the green screen stuff. And because it's a little bit rough and ready, it doesn't have the some of the things that you can dial in a bit more if you're using the compositor for keying. So it doesn't really have a blur around the edge or anything like that. But it's perfect for this because I wanted to be able to edit heaps of these sort of on the fly, rather than exporting them as shots and then re-importing them. Yeah, and then for the insane colors, the way that I did that was I just had a whole bunch of blocks of different colors. So each one of these is just a color. So add color, and then stretch it to the length of whatever the shot was. And then I kind of overlaid it using the different blend mode. So if we have it turned off, it'll just be one color. But I had it set to different, so you end up with this, insane kind of solarized effect. And then I adjusted these parameters to kind of get the looks that I want. So if you use them in tandem with each other, you can get kind of exactly the look that you want. So yeah, it was kind of a mixture of those. And yeah, just dialing them in. I also tried to get it so that a lot of the cuts are kind of perfectly in time with the music, so it would change on the beat. It's not always like that, but at the end especially, each one of these, the color changes as the cut changes, as the music changes. And the way that I managed to visualize that was making lots of markers, cutting to the markers, and just kind of scrubbing through the footage. Yeah, so yeah, we've got Vox, solo, transition, R, sliding, and then I've also got the lyrics here. So whenever he says the world is now changing, the colors also change. Originally, I sent a cut through to them that was all insanely saturated, and they were like, "Oh, maybe with the dynamics of the song, we could, have it so that they transition a bit more." I was like, "Actually, yeah, that's a really good call because it makes the insanely colored stuff pop a bit more." Yeah, and the way that I made it so that the color changes like that is just adding keyframes for the those values I was talking about before. The so for this one here, maybe it's not that one. Here's this one. Yeah, so that's the opacity of that one there. You can actually see the keyframes in here. So as we move along here, it's going down, and it's just fading this layer here, which is a solid color but set to difference, which I think's a simple and elegant solution, if I don't say so myself. Yeah, and then with these ones here, just similarly setting keyframes for that's actually the color that's changing in this one. The world is now changing. See? Yeah, so that's how I did the insane colors. I did a lot of experiments as well. I was mucking around with a little bit of Kirby crackle, trying to get some of that classic Jack Kirby crackle that you might have seen in those Spider-Verse movies, which I didn't end up using. I think I made a few different versions of it that was actually could be good for something else in the future. What have we got here? Maybe I did whatever. Yeah, I like to do some R&D, but it could be used for something else. I did a multicolored version somewhere. Dancer. Yeah, and for a little while I was thinking about having the dancer in the scene motion tracking a invisible object, which in this case is a torus, and then kind of shrink wrapping or drawing straight onto that with a grease pencil. So the initial idea was that this would be like spinning around his head, but I kind of figured it was a little too complicated for this project. But it would be a good thing to know for the future if I had a better shot with an alpha that I could motion track a halo or some Tweety birds or something too. Could be quite fun, couldn't it? If it's silly. Yeah, and there's my Taurus, which is just set to invisible. and the grease pencil's just got a modifier on it. The world is now changing. Yeah, I made a... Why did I make so many different worlds? Yeah, anyway. So that was like another experiment that I didn't end up pursuing too much, but I will use that for something else. So for the dog, from the outset, I was like, I can work with your footage, but if the song's called Leather Dog, you need to have a dog in a GIMP outfit that we can composite in. So it's a grease pencil object. Just going to turn off that sound. Yeah, he's cute. Yeah, so these are all different layers. You know, that's his hand, guitar. I went through and picked out all the colors, and then the beauty of this, like one of the reasons that I like the VSE for this is that I could export that without the pink layer, obviously, and then have it straight in here in my VSE. So wherever the dog appears, yeah. So yeah, I just brought him in here, and he's part of the scene. I do wish I could more easily see it in this viewer. It's one kind of setback, but occasionally it would work. I'm still trying to figure out how to get it live, because I'd be like, yeah, he's a little bit too small, a little bit too big, or need to move him over. So I'd do that, and then I would just jump back into here and move him over. Oh, actually, this is a different scene. This one's copied and pasted from the other one, but I gave him a GIMP outfit. Is it 2D full? I think it's that one. Whatever. Yeah, so exactly the same. I just added a couple more layers of GIMP outfit. The nipples cut out. And that was the one part of the show that really entertained me. And then I did a couple of other versions of the dog for later in the song when the colors are crazy, like this. That one there was the most animation, the most complex, and the most fun. I was actually going to do it hand drawn, and then I was like, it's just easier to do it with grease pencil rather than scanning it and then, aligning everything and then seeing if it works. So yeah, there's also animated it flying into the shot. So that's the view from the camera, but let's just take a look at it without the camera movements. You're there. So, looks like an awful lot of keyframes, but that's animation. How did I do it? I wanted it to be like a blueprint. So we've got the dogs. Yeah, because the lyrics are, "You're a blueprint of a dog who has a bone and not a tail." So that's the scene here. I originally made a plane, and then in the texture editor made it into grid paper, and then I was like, maybe it'd be better if it was actually also a grease pencil object that has a bit of a line boil to it as well. And then the way that I made it so it's changing shape like that is I just made a layer that was white, or like a white outline that changed into the shapes of what I needed. So it changes into this kind of bone shape too. So it starts as a page, turns into a bone shape, and then shrinks and disappears, right? And then and then I used a mask, which is another super cool thing, which I haven't mucked around with too much, but I think is great. So I've masked out a bunch of layers. So I used the white layer to mask that and that and that. The grid, the rough sketches, the dog. Yeah, the grid. Which is fantastic. You just you click the layer that you want to mask out, and then you choose your mask, which will be, in my case, this white layer, and then it just kind of chops through it all. Also, I didn't use any lights in my 3D scene, so I just click this button here, which is in your data property object, your object data properties for your grease pencil object. You click that so that light doesn't affect anything, so you don't need any lights in your scene. Something that's caught me out a little bit before. It's like tucked in there. So I originally animated this just as a, like a blueprint kind of coming together. That was the idea. So like super rough sketches of what a dog looks like if you were to make a blueprint. And there was also lots more notes of things like cool or wider, longer. I think that's what some of these arrows are, although that's saying make it grow. And then, the idea is the dog gets, you're the blueprint of look, I've made markers here. You can do that by hitting M and then F2 to name them. So align the music in the VSE here. And then, so if I had the scrubbing on, you could hear it go, you're the blueprint of a dog. So blueprint, dog, and then bone, and not a brain. So it's fairly literal. It's inside his brain. Yeah, and so that's the rough one. And I did it, kind of a fairly low frame rate. What's it, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6. But then I've also offset these this other layer over the top, which is my dog. So it's doing like, I guess, 3 of each. And then there's also a line boil on them too. It was quite fun doing the perspective of this bone. Just gives it a nice little touch. Eyeballs turning into a bone inside his head. And then that also, and then I also had the camera animated too, so this slides into the shot, it spins around, zooms in. Oh, there was also this question mark layer. Oh, get rid of that. Didn't end up using that one. Actually, what's that look like on its own? Didn't end up using that. Anyway, and the reason that it flies in like that is because it's overlaid over the scene at the start, and then and then when it fills the screen, that's when the cut is, and then it switches to the next shot with the dog. And then I animated it specifically so it would shrink into the dog's brain, which is this one here. Let's see if this works. Uh, 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 hey, that's a little bit odd, isn't it? Use the graph editor a little bit, but not heaps compared to a lot of other projects I've done. Hey, so look at this. Now, when I rendered this, for some reason, in this layout, it is showing me it. So if I render one frame, yeah, it's showing me that one frame. Anyway, whatever. So let's see if we can see that transition at the start. Yeah, here we go. Oh, and it's showing the... Yeah, I don't know why. It's one of these grey scenes, like I've just grabbed the scene, brought it in, and it's nicely overlaid in my video sequencer. And then you just need to render it out once when you render the video. So yeah, here's what it looks like in the finished thing. Now. Although the proxy's not super great.
You're the blueprint of a dog who has a bone and not a brain.
Yeah. Another thing that I did, which I didn't end up using, which is a bit annoying because I spent a bit of time on it, but you live and learn, is this here. I got this really cool halftone look in the 3D viewport. So I brought in the footage and it just looks so crispy and nice on my computer. And then once I put it up on YouTube as a test, it looked bad. It's like so crispy. It looks like it's printed from a book or a magazine. So it's CMYK. Oof, look at that. I don't know. Maybe it looks bad watching it on YouTube for you. Yeah. But definitely something that I might use in the future. Shout out to this here in particular looks quite good, I think. Yeah, shout out to the guy who I downloaded it from. His name is hang on, I'll find it in a second. Anyway, yeah, so so I applied that in the texture editing here for this object. Mr. Mo, that's his name. MMRO. He rocks. Give him your money. Yeah, so you can recreate some like CMYK printing stuff and dial in a bunch of these yeah things, you know. Anyway, that's a video. I think I covered most of it. Oh yeah, and the credits. Hang on, I guess I'll show you them. Let's take a look here. Oh yeah, so for the credits, I just did that in black and white. So it would be a mask, like the green screen ones. And then I, in edit mode, something that I've used in a few videos, and is also good sometimes for acting, for a character, for animation, if you need like a hand over here and then it over here, you know, you can just, what's it called? Sorry, it's been a long day. Interpolate the sequence, so it'll take all the vectors of the first shot. Let's see, and then it will move them. Yeah, it'll interpolate between them, just as long as you have the same number, otherwise it gets a little bit weird. So if you have the same number of lines, you can do these quite cool interpolations. Yeah, and so that's how I did this. I just drew it with grease pencil, and then for the first one, I think I just copied that keyframe, and then blew everything up a bit, and then interpolated between those, gave it a little bit of a dong bounce, and then it stays for a bit, and then into the next one, and then it zooms in on the O. Yeah, so Bunchy's big score. That's the video. I'm always happy to give tips and feedback, and I do lessons with people sometimes. It's great fun. I love Blender. I love grease pencil, animation, and yeah, I learned how to do this from watching people on YouTube. So I'm happy to share my knowledge too. Cheers. Like and subscribe and all that shit.